Financial Survival Network, helping you to survive and thrive in the new economy. Get our complimentary newsletter at financialsurvivalnetwork.com. This is the Financial Survival Network.
Financial Survival Network is presented to you by Regal Assets. Buy and sell physical gold and silver through your existing retirement plan, 100% tax-free with Regal Assets. If you want to include physical gold or silver in your existing IRA or old 401k, request your free investment kit, which was recently featured in the Forbes and Smart Money Wall Street Journal magazines. Call toll-free 855-678-6620, 855-678-6620, or visit regalassets.com. Bill Holter is with us today. He's got some great news, and he's written a couple of articles, one of which I found was pretty funny because your Federal Reserve Chairman, Helicopter Ben Bernanke, thinks that the U.S.'s QE3 will have beneficial effects upon the economies of the rest of the world. And then there's the age-old question. You've decided to buy precious metals. What do you buy first? And Bill's got some good insights into that. But first, Bill, welcome back to FinancialSurvivalNetwork.com.
Good morning, Kerry.
So you're now a full-time exclusive writer for MilesFranklin.com.
Exactly. I'm going to be sending all my writings exclusively through Miles Franklin. So if you want to read my material, you're going to have to get it from Miles Franklin.
Hey, well, that sounds good, and we congratulate you on that. It's nice to have a steady gig. So what do you make of this, Bernanke, that somehow QE3 or QE to infinity is going to benefit the world's economies? How come QE1, 2, 2.5, too light, twist, rattle, shake, and roll, how come none of those benefited the world economy, and yet this time QE3 is going to benefit?
Well, first off, let's go back. Had TARP not been done and QE not been done, we would have already gone through the Stone Age. So it benefited the system, quote, by preventing it from an outright collapse. It just prolonged the system that is. It prolonged the day until this system collapses and we go into a new monetary system. As I wrote in my piece, either Bernanke is lying or he's an idiot, one or the other. I mean, if he truly believes his own crap that printing money is going to benefit the economy, then he's a complete idiot. On the contrary, I think he has to say that, or is saying that, rather than saying what he did or what he's doing is necessary. When I say necessary, it's the only thing that they can do. So there's not an alternative to doing it. It's either print or die, as Richard Russell says, and it's absolutely correct. They either print or the system implodes upon itself. So he has to do it.
Right. So I call it print and pray, because they're printing all this stuff up. They know it can go wrong here. They know how bad it can be for the economy and the world, and yet they're going to do it anyway. They're just praying that this time will be different. And we all know how these things work. You know, it's never different.
Well, it's never different, and take a look at it from the standpoint of a European central banker or Japanese central banker or whatever. You've built up all these dollar reserves. How can him printing money, adding credit to the system, which has not grown in 4 years, where the economy is still the same size it was 4 years ago? So they've added all this money and all this credit. It means that each new dollar that's created is worth less than the previous one or previous ones previous trillions that were created. So it means, if you're a central banker, it means that your bedrock, your foundation, your reserves are worth less.
Just by its addition by subtraction effect.
Exactly.
Yeah, and yet maybe the average folk who isn't schooled in what we're dealing with here might buy that up, but there's no way that these central bankers cannot know, but I guess they're all in on it, right?
Well, of course they get it, and that's why you have this competition or race to the bottom. Everybody trying to lower the currency at the same time. It's like it was back in the Depression. Beggar thy neighbor. Everybody wants a weak currency so that they can export, and their manufacturing sector is able to continue to survive. You know, if you don't play the game, then your manufacturing sector, your exports, just evaporate.
And
because your currency is too strong.
Right. And then, of course, the converse is, and we're totally expecting it, we know it's going to happen, gold and silver will go up, not in value, but vis-a-vis the dollar and all fiat currency going down in value.
Right,
will
exactly.
At least hold their own, and then at some point there's the crack-up boom where everybody is onto it and just starts dumping dollars and trying to get metals, and then the price really goes up. So that's what we're really looking at then.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I mean, metals are a very finite item.
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
I mean, even with these higher prices, the argument 10 years ago was, oh, well, you get gold to $600-700 and production is going to explode and there's going to be massive supply and prices will collapse. Well, it hasn't happened, and it's not going to happen. Supply is very inelastic to price. There is some elasticity, but the problem is the exploration budgets of these mining companies have not been there. So there have not been any world-class mines found. You know, there might have been 2 or 3 in the last 10 years. But you go back to the 50s and 60s, and they were finding, you know, big deposits all over the place. And production ramped up and continued to ramp up until the late 90s and has flattened out and has gone nowhere.
Right. Right.
At the same time, money supply, credit, etc., has exploded exponentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we see this. It's so obvious, and like you say, at the same time where there's no great mines being developed, we also see that that a lot of questionable stock issues were floated, so that further depressed the price of the mining stocks.
Well, yeah, and a lot of them were forced to issue stock. I mean, that was the short seller strategy, was to try to depress the price and make them dilute themselves to infinity. And in some cases it's worked, and in some cases it's not. When all is said and done, I suspect that the short sellers are going to be destroyed.
Yeah, but getting to that point, we don't know.
Right, you got to get there first.
Happen. Yeah, eventually, who was it? John Maynard Keynes said, in the long run, we're all dead, but the fun's in getting there.
Right.
Yeah, and it's gonna be interesting. That's for sure. So then we go to the next part of the equation where we both agree that pretty much QE money printing is really cyanide to the world economic system. So if Bernanke thinks that suicide is a good thing, then I guess he's onto something. But for those of us who don't want to go down with the ship, you've got another article where you make specific recommendations on what you should buy first, where you go, whether it's gold, silver. Just share with us that.
Yeah, I've had a bunch of people ask me. It's like the light bulb's coming on for more and more people, and if you're new to precious metals and you have not purchased anything, but you're figuring out the game and you want to get started, I've always advised the first place to start is with junk. Junk being pre-1965 dimes, quarters, half dollars. They're 90% silver. Just as a rule of thumb, I've told people that I think, and this may be overkill, but I think it's a good idea to purchase one junk bag per person in your household. So a junk bag is roughly 720 ounces of silver. So you're looking at roughly $25,000 in today's marketplace per bag, per person in your household. If you don't have that type of capital, then just buy as much junk as you possibly can. If you get to 3/4 of a bag for the whole family, well, that's all you can do, but you've done the best you can. Then once you've gotten to that one junk bag per person, then you can start looking, well, do I want to do X percent in gold? Do you want to do it in eagles, maples, Krugerrands, et cetera, and that it gets more complicated from there. But just from a foundation standpoint, you really want to start with junk. And there are some really good reasons why you want to start with junk, and why, if you could have only one metal, silver would be the metal. As you know, in my opinion, the banking system is going to break down. And when that happens, silver will spend. If there's gas, you'll be able to use silver to buy it. If there's food, you'll be able to use silver to buy it. If you had 101-ounce gold coins, and this happens, yeah, you'd still be able to buy it, but how are you going to get your change back? And
Change
you
back from your Krugerrand.
Right, exactly. You give them a Krugerrand, which, let's say, the system is imploded, we're at a hyperinflationary event, and gold's trading at 5,000, 10,000, 50,000, whatever, and you need a tank of gas, and there is gas available. Are you really going to spend a Krugerrand for it, or for a week's worth or a month's worth of food? I suppose you would for food, but it wouldn't be a fair deal.
Sure.
Now, if you had silver, you might be able to give them $1, $2, $5 face amount of silver coins and have food for the month. You might be able to give them $4 or $5 face amount and fill up your gas tank. So it's spendable. They're easily recognizable. Everybody knows these are U.S. coins, and it is well known that pre-1965 they were 90% silver. And it's not profitable to counterfeit a dime or a quarter.
Oh, sure.
And even if you could, you can't make them look worn like most of these coins look. So they're going to be the most easily spendable metal, which gets you from here to there being a new monetary system. And in that new monetary system, that's where your gold comes in. You've carried your wealth from this system to the next system intact, or it's grown relative to other items.
Yeah, and let's face it, there will be, from this system to the new system, massive deflation. So whatever the monetary unit is, it could easily be worth, if it's based on metals, it could be 100 to 1 or even greater.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, it's anyone's guess is as good or better than mine. I've said all along that you can't put a price on gold because you don't know. You don't know how much we have. You don't know how much is going to be printed. there's no way to know. It is interesting, though, if you go back to Weimar Germany, when they went from the Reich mark to the gold mark. For instance, real estate immediately, when they changed the currency over, real estate immediately dropped 30% because there was no money on the streets. There's very little gold in circulation, in other words. Mm-hmm. And then it started going down.
Right.
So there's your example of deflation.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense, and you have to believe that that's going to be the case, because this whole reboot is whatever you've got now, you're going to wind up with less, and it's going to be worth less. That's a given. That is definite, because that's the way it's worked throughout history, especially if like you have a Zimbabwe situation where they literally just trashed the local currency and switched to dollars, which,
right.
There $1 became worth so much, and the value to buy property and whatever else was so high that you really came out smelling like a rose if your neighbors didn't kill you first because you were smarter than them. And that's the other thing. You have to be very circumspect and not flaunt anything, because the mindset of people out there is not going to be pretty, and you have to appear like a victim, just like everybody else.
Yeah, just stay inside and fly under the radar.
Yeah. Keep your food, which we use our sponsor here, preparewise.com. If you go there, type in Lutz in the discount code, and I've stocked up on it. Stuff tastes pretty decent, and I don't see, if you're buying silver and you're buying gold, then you got to buy some food as well
right.
well as a means of self-defense.
Well, you got to do it now because there's no panic to do it. Exactly. You got to do it in the peace and quiet of your local Walmart, and just get it done, and get it done quietly, calmly, and you're not fighting crowds. You're not having to fight people for the last 3 cans of tuna fish.
Exactly. Totally spot on. Anyway, Bill, we find you at milesfranklin.com, and that's really exciting that all your writing is going to appear there now, because you got a lot of common sense topics that you write on, and they're very meaningful to you because it gives you, I guess, the backbone, the common sense from another person who's already thought it through and has taken the actions that he's advocating. And it's one thing you read on these blogs and everything, and people have great theories, but you've done it. So we're grateful to you. We will talk to you in a couple weeks. Tell Andy we said hi. And,
I'll do it.
And we'll be around soon.
All right. Thank you, Kerry.
Thank you.